Perfect.
You could just
Okay,
cut out the
so
jibber jabber that we're doing right now.
we wanted to discuss how we were thinking the other day. We were
Hmm.
talking the other day and kind of going back and kind of reviewing or reminiscing about how we first started writing together and how this all came together. And do you want to talk a little bit about what you remember?
Yeah, I remember it was about a year ago, let's say in March or so, that we both finished our dissertations. We were both scheduled to graduate, and I remember that you said you wanted to start recording at home. You wanted to set up like a drum studio where you can record tracks for artists or clients or whatnot. And you asked me to if I had a session that wasn't finished that you could play drums to. So I think that, and that was I had a just electric guitar part mapped out as a song, and I sent it over to you, and we both were using Logic, so it was very easy to sync up the tracks for us together. And I think at the time we were using Google Drive at that time. So I just uploaded the session, you pulled it down, and you just started setting up your new gear. So you want to talk about the equipment that you bought and how you were setting it up?
Yes, yes. And so, yeah, I that's exactly, thanks for reminding me because I I I had just finally gotten into the world of home recording, and I had been using GarageBand in my, in my teaching
Hmm.
with students, and found it very user friendly on iPads or laptops and so on. And so I think I ran it by you. I think you use both Pro Tools and Logic, right?
Yeah, I'm mostly Logic, but yeah.
So, and then I purchased Logic Pro, and I consulted my guy at Sweetwater, John Gillespie, who is great. And he, for a very reasonably priced package, I was able to get the Focusrite, 8-channel Focusrite, and some mics and some JBL studio monitors and the whole shebang. And within like a couple days, I just literally was plug and play. So I found Logic and all of the audio aspect, except for the miking.
Yeah,
mic
that
the
takes time. Yeah.
yeah, the mic placements, the levels, the overheads, the leaking, the muting of even though for years I had recorded drums, but I was never the guy to set up the mics. So
And that's an art in itself.
yes, it definitely is, and I'm humbled by it. But for instance, I definitely get a lot of leakage in my floor tom mic from my kick
Right.
drum, and I don't know how to some things I'm not sure how to rectify yet. In terms of our recording, it doesn't didn't affect me because you're able to work around my shortcomings. But anyway, I was so that's when I got the home stuff, I started reaching out to I asked you if you had anything for me to record. So and
Yeah, and
then
what was great for me on that is that I had a session that I never finished. So I looked at it, this is an opportunity to finish something. Because before then, I was using like um, easy drummer type of programs where you kind of use MIDI, and those programs sound great, but they can't really replace a real live drummer such as yourself. So that was great, and you were able to add it with a really live feel and make it into like a real song. So
yeah, thank you.
that's what I was doing beforehand with that, and I just never finished it. So this was a good opportunity to collaborate with somebody.
Yeah. Speaking of those drummers, like GarageBand and Logic have, Kyle and
Yeah,
Southern California Feel and everything.
right.
Those are I've used those as like placeholders to
Yes, that's a good point.
while I'm playing my crappy guitar part, and just kind of like to nail stuff down to keep it glued together
Yeah, they're
while
great
you're
for
building
like
it.
sketch padding.
Yeah. So I think there's some value, but if I had to if I had to use, I mean, I'm sure people do, but if I had to rely, well, I'm a drummer, so if I had to rely on the loops and the editing, all that stuff to make it sound real, that would be like a serious, that would be a big job, right? Wouldn't you say
Right.
so?
Yeah, it is. And I guess there's an art in doing that because a lot of producers do use a lot of loops to for their projects, and they cut them up and they edit them, and they, that's a skill in itself. So, but if you already have the chops as a real drummer, um, maybe leave that skill set to a producer that's working in different types of projects.
Yeah. 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 It almost seems that, I don't know how, I mean, either the technology has allowed, well, I think people have always edited
Mhm.
drum takes and takes in general, but
Yeah,
I
for
don't,
any instrument. Yeah.
I don't know if the technology allowed producers just to circumvent drummers, or if drummers by and large, you know, I don't know how we got to the point where we've viewed drummers as uh so faulty that we need to, right, that
Right.
we need to, like, where did we get caught up on like this tempo and having such amazing time and everything, and even though that's great, I don't know, it's like a vicious cycle. So now producers are can get into the weeds and get stuck editing
Drum parts. Yeah.
drum parts, so anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it may be a little easier because there's no defined pitch with drums, so maybe it's easier to manipulate. And since there's such a quick decay from the drum sound, maybe I don't know. Maybe it's a little easier to do that because now they're starting to do that with guitar and bass.
Right.
It's a little bit more difficult because of the pitch component.
Kind of feel the same about those. I mean, those guitar, when that library comes up, when you
Right.
when you look at the guitar parts, or like the bass parts, you're like, yeah, this is going to be great. And then when you actually cycle through the loops,
Right.
you're like, I think I'd just rather try and play it myself, or get,
Yeah. Or
get
they
rid of
sound
all the,
they're really catchy, but they lack originality.
yeah, yeah,
And I
definitely.
guess if I was given this loop library for everybody to use, do I really want to give everybody my best stuff for free?
Right. No, no, no. Good point. So, do you want to talk about like the work? How do we decide on the workflow? Like, what
Yeah,
were we going to do, and so on?
yeah. Well, I guess the first song that we called "Smile." Well, I had the song arranged pretty much, and you kind of came up with it, your drum parts, but then you played to it beautifully. I was super happy when I first heard the session. Come back with the drum parts, and but here's the really cool thing is that when you add your drum interpretation, like where I thought a chorus would go, or kind of like where another idea would be, it's kind of like now by collaborating with you, uh, I'm hearing things differently than I originally intended, and that was good because it was now the song idea was fresh to me again. It was new. So yeah, and but then we started. Like I remember because we would both get up super early to get to work. We would call each
That's
other
right. Yeah.
like you're like 6:30 in the morning when everybody else is
You were
still
you were
sleeping.
already at work at 6:30. I was
I
I was
was.
just
I,
getting in
I
the
was there
car.
at 6. But and we would talk like, oh well, you would say, well, maybe add electric guitar here. And now that because we had the session back, I think at that point it was just a clean electric guitar and drum,
Hmm.
and we started like talking about how to create layers to it or parts and just different ideas that I didn't have initially. And I think we're like, and then one thing is like when in the bridge, it gets, we slowed the tempo changes. So, and you added these like Pink Floyd type of synth sounds, like Moog inspired synths. I was like, wow, that's really cool. But then you said, well, after I'm done with that, you come in with a guitar solo.
Right.
Like,
Right. Yeah.
and then that's how we evolved. I didn't really think of a synth there, but it was
Right.
nice to elevate it uh, to another level. And like since you did the synth on that part, I was like, you know what? There's in the second verse, there's like a little segue. Okay, now I'm going to introduce the synth there, and I created the part. So kind of like foreshadowed the synth coming up in the bridge, in my opinion.
That's right. Yeah. I remember that. I remember that. So that was it's also a fun a fun part of home recording is, for instance, I wouldn't consider myself to be a keyboard player by any stretch of the imagination. However, I just turned to my Oxygen 8. It's plugged in, fire up the sounds, and I can start playing around with stuff like that. But do you feel the same way?
Oh, absolutely. That's the beauty of working with programs like Logic, is that you don't have to be an expert instrumentalist on that part or that instrument. You can always edit it after. You can quantize. You can, if you made one note wrong, okay, well, you can fix that note. You don't have to retake it. You can just edit it in the edit window. And plus, as I think you just found a preset sound in Logic's library. Like, oh, that sounds great.
Yes.
You just start from there. So that's really, you don't have to have like 10 different synthesizers in your house
Yes.
to go through to find what you want. Everything is in the library right there for you, ready to go.
Yeah, I like the idea of triggering background vocals with
Oh, wow, yeah.
with a keyboard. And so you're not really technically playing a keyboard part, but you're enhancing the arrangement overall,
Yeah, I never heard some of those vocal sounds like that. Like, I kind of just dismissed them actually when I would stumble upon them, because they didn't sound to be natural. And then, but in the context of a song with other layers, you find a place for them,
So Smile is, so everyone who is interested would hear our EP. Smile is the first song
Yes.
on our EP, right?
And it's on YouTube, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Pandora,
Yes.
any place where digital music is shared these days, it's on. And,
Gotcha.
and CD Baby is the outfit that takes care of all that.
Did you want to talk about the vocals at all, or your guitar parts, or?
Oh, I mean, I'll allow you to talk about the vocals, because you beautifully came up with the lyrics and the vocal melody. So I'll allow you to go on that. But I guess the guitar parts, I came up with the clean guitar parts a while ago, but the electric guitar parts I kind of just drew on from the drums. I did play bass on it, and I actually thought I came up with a really good bass line. Yeah, that doesn't kind of go with the guitar parts, almost like a counter style of bass parts. So, but I really liked my guitar solo on it.
Yeah,
I really
did too.
Thank you.
And by the way, if I can interrupt, it's that bass part that you came up with is it has its own life. It has its own shelf. It has its own spot in the orchestration, which I really appreciate when good bass players do that, because they're not just following the rhythm, or they're not just following a pattern. I feel like that's kind of the easy way out. And that's kind of the way that I play bass. I just follow like the kick drum but when you get a good bass part, I really appreciate that. The fact that it has its own spot in the orchestration.
And other stuff we worked on, I would, like you said, have its own. My bass part would have its own place in the mix, but there was other stuff that I couldn't do then. I had to follow kind of like what everybody else is doing. I guess there's a time and place for everything.
Yeah. No, definitely that first song was an exercise. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but part of it was, we agreed that this would be like an exercise in getting me kind of a teachable moment, so I could learn how to record drums, record vocals, accept files that were emailed to me, open stuff up, begin sessions, share not only the session, but just share particular wave files where the session is not necessary. Right? Do you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, I think then we started moving on to Dropbox because it was just easier to do so. And here's the other thing that a lot of people don't think about when they're sharing stuff. Like, you also have to give them permission, or they're calling you back. Oh, wait, I don't have
Yeah.
permission. I said, like little things major things like uploading a whole session, but also giving that person permission so they can access all the tracks and work on it. But I think
See,
that,
yeah, go
it,
ahead. Sorry.
and but it's like it's funny, like as everybody's like talking about like collaborating these days asynchronously, but musicians have been doing this type of work for years now, collaborating on real projects and doing it even before the pandemic. And like you said before, like when you were learning how to use these programs and the mics, isn't that how you learn how to do anything in life? You only get good at something, especially when you're doing it for the first few times, by actually doing it and doing it every day and learning from your mistakes and what you do well. That's true about anything that we want to do.
Yeah, I agreed. Yeah, you can study all the mic techniques and YouTube videos and stuff all you want, but you
Right?
actually just have to plug the sucker in.
Yeah, and experience it for yourself.
And then make, I mean, I remember talking, I didn't really know what a pad did
Right.
on my Focusrite or how to set the actual mics themselves. And,
Yeah. And how many times
I
have you
still
done?
don't.
But think about it. You've done recording sessions as a player
Yes.
countless times, and now you're learning a skill set that the engineer was doing countless times, and now you're trying
Yes.
to merge those two roles together, and that's really
Yes.
what music technology has done these days. Is everybody is now that plays an instrument is an artist, is a recording engineer, is a mixer. You're fusing so many roles now with the technology.
Agreed. And I'd like to add to that in that, I guess I'm only interested in it as much as it facilitates my playing and recording.
Yeah,
So I don't seem to gain any yardage just by trying to learn something out of context. That I
right.
I get the most out of it when I actually have to make something happen to
Hmm.
facilitate what I want to do. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, so that's what that button does, or
Yeah,
oh,
because
that's how to edit. Because like, for instance, I don't even go into my take folder in Logic. I just delete my takes that because I'm not interested in comping
right,
drum
right.
drum takes and stuff.
But
So
you discovered Punch It In recently, which you're like, wow, I don't have to put all.
exactly. Yeah, the punch feature is awesome, man. It's like what a
Yeah, so you don't have
great.
to do the whole thing all over again. You just do fix that one little layer. But you know what? That's also you're also a brilliantly trained drummer, and some other people that are may have not have had your training or your talent, they love that take folder because now they can combine the perfect take by taking, oh, this bar was great, this bar was terrible. Okay, I can take it from the folders and now combine the perfect take from multiple takes. So I guess you don't need that feature, but other people may.
Definitely. And I could definitely see how it's useful for vocals if you want to get the
Hmm.
right inflection and you want to keep everything, including the first takes, or if you're playing guitar while you're
Right,
singing and your reference vocal ends up being like almost like 100% perfect,
right.
you're going to want to keep everything. But there's parts of Logic that so what else? The low latency feature.
Oh,
Oh,
that's a good point.
and
Yeah,
I just learned how to recently just learned how to add stuff to my toolbar. I didn't even know the punch feature was there until,
yeah, yeah. You could,
you know.
yeah, yeah. Everything is there. I guess it's just how you set it up, But a lot of people don't know. I mean, think about it. I mean, even professional engineers probably only use, I don't know, 1/3 of what the program can actually do, because you're using it the way you want to use it. So if
Right.
you want to, I mean, if you're recording rock music, are you really going to need how to, you know, use like the beat mapper or the drum, different drum settings in
The
yeah,
smart tempo and all that stuff. I
yeah,
mean,
maybe you don't need to use all that stuff.
sooner or later, I think I'll get into all that stuff as I'll have to accept files into new sessions that I need to somehow
Yeah, or if you work with
quantify.
other artists and what their preferences are, I mean,
So I we figured that this, for everybody listening, we figured that this would be sort of an impromptu, natural conversation. And
mhm,
I guess I don't want to lead the convo, but can I suggest that in an effort not to make this too long, I think maybe next time we could talk about our research for our dissertations and how maybe that um, how that came to, how that influenced our recording of our
Yeah.
EP, and then
Mhm.
maybe then at that time we can also talk about the second song. What's the second song?
Lakewood, Lakewood.
Liquid, and then we'll figure this out. We'll upload this video to like a Sabet Doherty YouTube channel, but we can also include a link
Right.
to in the description or whatever, or
Cool.
however you do it for the review that we just got. Do you want to talk about the review that we just
Oh
got?
yeah, there was he's really great writer and music critic. His name is Jim Testa. He's from the Jersey Journal, the Jersey Beat. So I remember him years ago when I was in a Jersey band called Darby Jones. I think he did a review of us. I think he was at like Maxwell's a
Hmm.
night that we were playing. So he's got a really great reputation in the Jersey music scene, the Jersey indie scene. So I just found him on Facebook and just kind of reintroduced myself to him, and he remembered the band Darby Jones, but he and kind of just used that as an introduction. It's like, hey, I got an EP with my partner, and you're also from Jersey originally. I'm from Jersey, so they like to review Jersey independent artists or acts. So he agreed to listen to our 5-song EP and write a review, and it's on Jersey Beat's website this month. It was just published right before July 4th weekend, last Friday.
Nice, yeah. Very, very nice complimentary review about our work, and we'll include a link to that. And just to reiterate, the name of the EP is just entitled Sabbath Doherty, right?
Yes, Sabin and Doherty.
Uh,
Keep
and
it simple.
keep it simple.
Maybe the next one will have a mysterious title to it.
Yes, yes.
Absolutely.
And I guess throughout these we could talk about some of the new stuff we're working on.
Right.
But
You already have a few songs already finished, and a couple more kind of like in the early stages. But yeah, I'd like to do. I mean, these days I think it's much more easier to do a 5-song EP than it is to do a full length album. So I think it's definitely fitting, and plus everything now is so more single based. People just release singles now
right.
because people don't buy entire albums anymore like they used to. So
Also just seems much more doable. Like, I don't know, you could come up with well, one thing I wanted to add is that not only is it just easier to attain, it just seems that in terms of like the direction of the songs, I don't y- I don't think that we thought about, oh, does song A match song, the first
yeah,
song match the second song, and so on. I think altogether it creates a body of work, but I don't
right.
think we're trying to go for a specific genre. I think we
Yeah,
can
it's not like
genre hop.
when I listen to like Pink Floyd, The Wall. It's a different time.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, I love that album, but I don't know if people are making albums like that anymore, where they have a concept and it follows that concept from beginning to end.
Right,
You
right,
know,
right. Good. And so you want to wrap it up? I thought we
yeah,
thought Steve and I thought that we could just keep these tighter so that
hmm
they're more digestible, and then we create another,
another set.
another conversation, like another YouTube conversation about the second song, instead of making this a really long presentation.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think, yeah, I guess if you want to hear what we're talking about, the first song, "Smile," is a good example, and it's the first one we made together, and it's just us collaborating. But keep in mind, we never collaborated at the same time in the same room. It was all done um, at our own pace, asynchronously.
Right.
So, yeah,
Good point. And just one last thing, which is that before Smile, I had not written a full set of lyrics to a song in a long time, you know,
And
And
you did a great job.
thank you.
Love it.
And my style of lyric writing is just kind of whatever comes to mind. Don't I don't try and like justify it or figure it out too much. I mean, yeah, I'm working on the one that we're working on right now, Hook of Memory.
Right.
That one I'm not obsessing about, but I think it should have a better, it needs a better vocal presentation, and lyrics
Mhm.
need to be presented better.
But think about it. You're learning, you're reflecting on your process, and you want to do something different. Isn't that what all artists do, right?
Yes. Yeah, yeah, good point. And whereas years ago I used to be like very self-conscious about what what are people going to think about when they hear is it, I remember just writing, smiling, going, it is what it is. Put
Yeah.
melody to words, and then we'll figure out what it means afterward, right?
Yeah. People always draw their own conclusions anyway. So
Exactly. Let them. But
let them continue.
yes, yes. But we got it in the review. We got a nice reference to either the Beach Boys or Simon and Garfunkel or something.
Yeah. Well, that's all your layers of harmonies that you did really well. That's also great. You're one singer and yet you're tracking multiple harmonies. So,
Tons of fun, actually. It's like
Yep.
definitely much more fun than playing drums.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I mean, it's just more challenging. It's more like so. But
Yeah, I can imagine, especially with the harmonies. Like,
I don't want anybody to think that I don't enjoy playing drums, but it's just more fun to like break out and do something different.
yeah, okay, I definitely hear that.
Um, so you want to? Should we button this up?
Yeah, that's it. This is it. Yeah, just check out our EP and hear what we're talking about. And I hope you guys. I mean, Brian and I are full-time music teachers, so we've done this while we're going to work every day and teaching and learning on our own. So it's just a continuous process. I think I would say if you're a music teacher, you should create your own music at home and learn how to use these programs so that'll help you integrate technology in the classroom much better than just like this is a program and teach kids how to use it. But create your own project and show your kids, your students, the work that you created, especially if you did it with other musicians.
Great point. Totally agree. So we're gonna sign off. We'll do another one about what's the second song coming up on the
Like
next video.
we could do Lakewood, or we can
Lakewood.
do
Okay.
Another World, whichever one you want to do.
Which one's the second song on the EP? Lakewood.
Yeah, Lakewood.
Okay. So we'll do Lakewood next time.